Hey everyone, what's going on? I wasn't going to make a video in regards to this because I talked about it in the video from last night, but this is just too much, you know? It's like today we get a story about DeMarcus Cousins allegedly threatening to kill his ex-girlfriend. And when he did this, it just so happened to be on August 23rd. My computer's not going to load, but August 23rd. That's Kobe Bryant's birthday. And if you've followed a number of my videos over the years, I've made a ton of videos in regards to DeMarcus Cousins' Achilles injury being synced up to Kobe Bryant tearing his Achilles, and that's why this year Kevin Durant even tore his Achilles while playing the Toronto Raptors in the NBA Finals because Kobe Bryant's first game back after tearing his Achilles was against the Toronto Raptors, and he also scored 81 points against the Toronto Raptors at one point in time. And in this practice of coding numbers into words and phrases that is used every single day in the scripted sports leagues, the scripted media, and so on, if you write out Kobe Bean Bryant, he just so happens to equal 81, the guy known for scoring 81 points, and then he tears his Achilles, and of course, the first game back he plays against the same team he scores 81 points against. And when DeMarcus Cousins tore his Achilles, I pointed out that DeMarcus Amir Cousins equals 81. And if you go back and watch the footage of when he tore his Achilles, they took him out of the game with 8.1 seconds left even. And after all this is said and done, the Lakers on July 17th, they actually signed DeMarcus Cousins. And I made this big old video talking about all of this stuff going on with the NBA. We had Kawhi Leonard and Paul George going to the Clippers. Chris Paul went to the Oklahoma City Thunder. And Russell Westbrook went to the Rockets. And the Lakers had Anthony Davis. And then they had just signed DeMarcus Cousins. And if you go back to the year Kobe Bryant tore his Achilles, that was the same year that Dwight Howard was on the team. Dwight Howard was on the Lakers, and then Kobe Bryant went on to tear his Achilles. And the first game that Kobe played after tearing his Achilles against the Raptors, that next season, it just so happened to be on Dwight Howard's birthday. And the season before that, the Lakers were supposed to get Chris Paul, and Chris Paul, that trade got nullified on Dwight Howard's birthday. So I knew that the DeMarcus Cousins trade had something important to do with Dwight Howard. And then, of course, on Kobe Bryant's birthday, the Lakers signed Dwight Howard. What are the odds of that? The Lakers signed Dwight Howard on Kobe Bryant's birthday, and he's there because DeMarcus Cousins got injured again, and now we're getting a story about how DeMarcus Cousins made a death threat against his ex-girlfriend on Kobe Bryant's birthday. Also on Kobe Bryant's birthday, we got a story about Luke Walton and his sexual assault case being closed. If you go back and look when Luke Walton, he first resigned, he did so on April 12th, which was the anniversary of Kobe Bryant tearing his Achilles. And to make it even more revealing is that the sexual case, it began on April 22nd, which was 4 months and 1 day before it ended on Kobe Bryant's birthday. Kobe Bryant equals 41. He also turned 41 years old on that day. And the word king equals 41 in gematria. Think about how DeMarcus Cousins at one point was a king, and think about how Luke Walton is now the coach for the Sacramento Kings. And back in November of last year, I made a blog post. Let me find it here. November 20th of 2018, I made this blog post talking about how I thought LeBron James might possibly get injured because Kobe Bryant's Achilles injury was all about the number 34, and LeBron James was going to be 34 years old. And, Kobe tore his Achilles when he was 34 years old, and he scored 43 points in that game, and the Lakers got their 34th win of the season. Then he came back 34 weeks later to play. He made this early comeback, and it was in the 34th week. He also is known for not being able to play with number 34 Shaq. He won an Oscar on 3-4. The year that he announced his retirement, just before he announced his retirement, the Lakers lost by 34 points to the Golden State Warriors. And, Kobe wrote this poem called Dear Basketball, that if you write out Dear Basketball, it equals the same as Kobe Bryant, 41, right? Kobe just turned 41 years old. Kobe Bryant equals 41. So, anyway, LeBron James goes on then. He wasn't 34 when he got injured, but it just so happened to be on the Lakers' 34th game of the season that LeBron James got injured. And on LeBron James's 34th birthday, the Lakers just so happened to play the Sacramento Kings of all teams, right? Think about LeBron James, who is King James, right? And when he won the NBA Finals with Cleveland, he won it on the anniversary of the real King James's birthday. And in history, a Cavalier is a follower of King Charles during the English Civil War, and King Charles just so happened to be the son of King James. So what are the odds? King James plays for the Cavaliers, who's a follower of his son, and then he wins the NBA Finals on the anniversary of the real King James's birthday. And, that has a lot of stuff that's going on with it as well. 619 was the date, June 19th, a lot like 619. That's the 114th prime number. And if you write out LeBron James, his name just so happens to equal 114. Notice it also equals 42, just like Lakers. And he got injured 4 months and 2 days after Kobe Bryant's birthday. Lakers 66, LeBron 66, LeBron James also 66. How fitting, He went to the Lakers 183 days after his birthday. I mean, it's so ridiculous. So then, when LeBron James made his comeback in this last season, he did so in a game against the Clippers, right? The Los Angeles Clippers. And DeMarcus Cousins also made his comeback from tearing his Achilles in a game against the Clippers. And then the Lakers ended up playing the Clippers again on the date of 3-4, and they got their 34th loss of the season while LeBron James was 34 years old, and he got injured on the 34th game of the season. What are the odds of all of that? It's just ridiculous. And think about how Kawhi Leonard was supposed to go to the Lakers, then he ended up going to the Clippers. Paul George at one time was supposed to go to the Lakers, now he's at the Clippers. And Chris Paul, the nullified trade with the Lakers, and then he ended up going to the Clippers. And interesting, if you read out Los Angeles Clippers, it equals 81, just like Kobe Bean Bryant, just like DeMarcus Amir Cousins. There's a lot of other interesting overlap with all of this too, because if you look up Kobe Bryant equals 58 as well, just like Los Angeles Lakers equal 58, just like DeMarcus Cousins equals 58, just like Dwight Howard equals 58. Dwight Howard equals 58. Also, Kawhi Leonard equals 58. And his birthday's 58 days after Paul George's birthday. So there's something interesting with the connections to these Los Angeles teams. And, James Harden is from the Los Angeles area. Russell Westbrook from the Los Angeles area. Kawhi Leonard from the Los Angeles area. Paul George from the Los Angeles area. So there's a big narrative with the Los Angeles teams. But another interesting thing I've been following for a few years is with the Houston Rockets. And now that Chris Paul is playing for the playing for the Oklahoma City Thunder, or at least so far, and the the Rockets now have Russell Westbrook, right? And Russell Westbrook joined back up with James Harden. And the year of the Chris Paul nullified trade was 2011, and that was the year that LeBron James won his first ever NBA Finals. Let's type it out really quick. LeBron James won his first ever NBA Finals in this season. I believe the season was even shortened up to 66 games, wasn't it? Let me see here. 2012. But LeBron James won this NBA Finals. It was the 66th season of the NBA, and he won it over Russell Westbrook and James Harden. And that's what I prove. It's the 66th season of the NBA. And they shortened the season to 66 games of the season. And then remember how LeBron James equals 66? So does just LeBron. So does the word Charles. And think about how a Cavalier is a follower of King Charles and so on, right? So it's all about LeBron James, who is the king. But the Rockets have a very interesting narrative with Kobe Bryant and so on. So when Kobe Bryant tore his Achilles, the Lakers then went on to defeat the Houston Rockets in order to make the playoffs, and then they got swept in the playoffs. And then the next season, Dwight Howard left and went to the Houston Rockets. And the coach of the Lakers at the time was Mike D'Antoni. And Mike D'Antoni also had left the Lakers and went to the Houston Rockets. And now he's the current coach of the Houston Rockets. Notice his birthday, 5'8", like Los Angeles Lakers. How interesting. I just want to point it out here. The Houston Rockets. Another interesting thing about Mike D'Antoni is that we recently got the story about Carmelo Anthony being blackballed by the NBA as well. And Carmelo Anthony, the last time he's played for an NBA team was the Houston Rockets. And he at one time had played under Mike D'Antoni at the New York Knicks. And Mike D'Antoni even said that he left because of Carmelo Anthony. So there's another, interesting connection. There's also been all this stuff with China that is going on. And the year that DeMarcus Cousins left the Kings and joined the Pelicans played 2 preseason games in China against the Houston Rockets. And there was even a controversy because one of the Rockets players had wrote on the Great Wall of China. And think about Donald Trump, the Great Wall. Even the movie called The Great Wall came out just after Donald Trump won the rigged election on the anniversary of the Berlin Wall coming down. And, after the Cavaliers won the NBA Finals and he gave his national convention in Cleveland at Quicken Loans. And, the Cavaliers visited the White House the same day Donald Trump did and a bunch of other stuff. But there was that important to China. And in regards to China, recently you've had all them stories, the Hong Kong stuff, the China trade war, the tariffs. Think about Jeremy Lin, who was on the Toronto Raptors this year. Jeremy Lin, the Chinese-American basketball player. And he was playing for the Houston Rockets the year that Kobe Bryant tore his Achilles. He also played with Carmelo Anthony on the Knicks under Mike D'Antoni. And he also had played for the Los Angeles Lakers with Kobe Bryant. But notice his birthday is also the same day as Kobe Bryant's birthday. And last night I made this video talking about how Jeremy Lin was really important to all of this Chinese symbolism. And the Rockets too, because the Rockets had Yao Ming, right? Yao Ming, like the first Chinese basketball player in the NBA, the most popular Chinese player, And I believe even Yao Ming, I'm pretty sure that when he was on the team, the Rockets played the Kings in an exhibition game in China. But I could be wrong on that. I can't remember. But today we get a story. This is what I'm saying. So I talked about how Jeremy Lin was important to China and whatnot, and now today we're getting a story about how Jeremy Lin is going to be playing in China next season. What are the odds? And of course, his name equals the same as the team he's going to be playing for. It also came 75 days after the Raptors won the NBA Finals. And if you read out the team that he's going to be playing for, they also equal 75. And if you go to his birthday, from the Raptors winning the NBA Finals to Kobe Bryant's birthday, and also Jeremy Lin's birthday, it was 71 days or 2 months and 10 days. Well, Toronto Raptors equals 71. China equals 210, like 2 months and 10 days. Beijing Ducks also equal 210. But even without the numbers, what are the odds that now Jeremy Lin, after I just talked about how Jeremy Lin's important to this China theme, Jeremy Lin now going on to play in China. And then we get a story about DeMarcus Cousins death threatened his girlfriend on Kobe Bryant's birthday. Jeremy Lin born on Kobe Bryant's birthday. Dwight Howard signed on Kobe Bryant's birthday, his 41st birthday, which is special to Kobe Bryant because he equals 41. Remember his final game too, that rigged game where he sucked all year? And then he goes in and scores 60 points in this very final game ever, and they take him out of the game with 4.1 seconds even, because it's that scripted. But also another thing in regards to the Rockets is, think about Chris Paul, right? Chris Paul went to the Clippers, but Chris Paul also became a Houston Rocket at one point. And there's just a big narrative with the Houston Rockets. I'm not sure if it means the Rockets are going to win the NBA Finals this year, but in the past, when DeMarcus Cousins tore his Achilles, I documented how Magic Johnson was important to that narrative because Magic Johnson was best friends with Isaiah Thomas, the Detroit Pistons player, and he once tore his Achilles and it basically ruined his career, but he did it just before the Rockets won the NBA Finals in 1994. And, we also had Isaiah Thomas, the Boston Celtic player who now plays for the Washington Wizards, and who have John Wall, who tore his Achilles. And he tore his Achilles on the same day Donald Trump addressed the nation about building the wall. John Wall tears his Achilles. The Washington Wizard, think about the White House, the president, the guy who wants to build the wall. Think about China and the Great Wall. It's a super fitting narrative that's going along with Donald Trump. But Isaiah Thomas tore his Achilles, like I said, before the Rockets won the NBA Finals. Magic Johnson retired after playing a game against the Houston Rockets. Also in regards to when DeMarcus Cousins was joined the Pelicans, and earlier that year they had played in China against the Rockets. DeMarcus Cousins' first game as a Pelican was against the Houston Rockets, and when he tore his Achilles, it was against the Houston Rockets. So, regardless if the Rockets win the NBA Finals, there's something really, really important to the Houston Rockets. And, maybe it's just part of the narrative to the King symbolism or something, but the Rockets are also important to a space theme that I've talked about, and it's interesting that next year will be the 51st anniversary of the moon landing, or the supposed moon landing, and the word moon in gematria equals 51, so does the word conspiracy. Tons of other things. Area 51 is called that for that reason. So I'm not going to keep explaining it, but I just wonder if that's something to do with it. And earlier in July, I talked about the earthquake in Los Angeles on Independence Day, and how a big thing with that was I was following this number 310, and I found out the area code in Los Angeles, one of the area codes is 310, and I was talking about how it was important to this earthquake in Mexico City, which I can't remember what the actual suburb or whatever was, but it was called the City of Angels, and I talked about how it was important to this Angel of Independence statue, and earthquakes. And then on Independence Day in Los Angeles, we got a major earthquake. And it was just after the death of the Angels player, Tyler Skaggs. And everything about him was the number 713, which is the Houston area code. And then they had the shutout of the Mariners, and then the Houston Astros shut out the Mariners as well. And that was a tribute game to Tyler Skaggs when the Los Angeles Angels did it. And I just mentioned, the Houston Astros. So it feels like the Houston Astros might possibly win the World Series this year. And it was just reminding me of 2017 because I talked all about this stuff with DeMarcus Cousins and the Houston Rockets, and then they didn't win the NBA Finals, but the Astros went on to win the World Series later that year. And we just got the story about Andrew Luck retiring, and Andrew Luck played high school football in Houston, and it's synced up to his father, Oliver Luck, who is the commissioner of the XFL, and they also have the Houston Roughnecks, and he retired on Vince McMahon's birthday, August 24th. So there's all this stuff with Houston going on. Yesterday we got the story, or just recently, I can't remember if it was yesterday, but we got the story about the Houston Floods again. And then just after Andrew Luck retires, the Houston Texans player Lamar Miller tears his ACL. So there's definitely something important to Houston. And earlier this year, I talked about how China had landed on the dark side of the moon. And it was just before Donald Trump addressed the nation about building the wall. And it was during the government shutdown that was all synced up to the wall. And think about China and the Great Wall. Think about the dark side of the moon and the band Pink Floyd, who has the album The Dark Side of the Moon and also the one called The Wall. So there's something important. Think about Houston and space and rockets and, a number of other things. Think about missiles. Donald Trump wants to have a space force, right? He wants to build the wall. He also wants to have a space force. China's space stuff is ramping up. So there's something important to it, Apollo equals 117. Space equals 117. Rockets equal 117. They also all equal 91. This is a cipher where capital letters are important. If you don't use capital letters, they all equal 91. And the Cold War came to an end in 91 because Russia dissolved in December of the year 91. So, trying to piece it all together here. But there's a humongous narrative with the Houston Rockets. Isaiah Thomas, too, the Detroit Pistons, not the Detroit Pistons player, the Boston Celtic player. He was important, too, because his sister died that year in King County, Washington. And he also played for the Sacramento Kings. And his sister's name was China. And the year before, we had the wrestler China die. Yao Ming has the same birthday as Andrew Luck. It's pretty interesting. September 12th, the same birthday as Andrew Luck. LeBron James he's going to be 35 this year, and King James equals 35. China equals 35. NASA equals 35. That's why it was important that year in 2017 with the Rockets, because Kevin Durant played with the Golden State Warriors. He wore number 35. There was this big ritual with LeBron James and I can't remember what exactly happened. It was something to do with Draymond Green and LeBron James and the number 35. And right around that time, we got the death of Eugene Cernan, who was the astronaut, the last guy to step foot on the moon. And a month and a half before he died, I talked about him and how there was a space moon theme going on. And just before he died, I talked about, John Glenn had died. And we also got a story about Buzz Aldrin being in the hospital. So there was this big theme with space and so on. And think about Houston once again. So we're trying to piece it together. There's something important to China, how it's connected to space and also to the Houston Rockets. You know, and all of this goes back to when Kobe Bryant tore his Achilles. So it might sound crazy, but I mean, I've just proved it in this video. I proved it in a ton of other videos. I mean, it's just, like I said in the very beginning, it's just too much. You know, Jeremy Lin, now going to play in China. DeMarcus Cousins says he's going to kill his girlfriend on Kobe Bryant's birthday, the same day that Dwight Howard goes there. After I make this video, the same day they picked up DeMarcus Cousins, saying that Dwight Howard was important to the narrative. Then Dwight Howard goes there, so I'll leave some links in the description. Just wanted to make this video and, you know, just for reference, for future reference, because I guarantee Houston's going to be important to this narrative. So have a good one. Peace.